You wake up just a little more excited for the show than others. You know what? Joy scrolling last night. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR show.
Let's go.
Presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. We're also kicking it today in the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Do us a favor and hop on in the Toyota chat, which you see there right there to the right of your screen. Join the conversation. We're going to do some, we have questions on the show that we're going to talk about, but you might as well talk about them with us. Kale will bring your comments up on, if they're good ones.
Make them good.
If they're good, he'll bring them up on the screen. But you guys can join the conversation as always with us. Got a great show for you guys today. Hangover takes, of course. Christian Braun's upside. Time to reassess. We said we knew what it was. I feel like I thought I knew what it was, and now I don't. Jalen, Pickett, Zeke, Nnaji. What does it mean that they've had this run? Is their trade value restored? Or are they can't trade players? You can't trade these guys. Contracts are too good. And then at the end of the show, we're going to look at some career highs that are taking place this year. Because I thought it was interesting as I was going through and looking at players to where it compares to their averages. And I was like, some players with some interesting career highs today. We'll get into all of that and more. I got Brendan Vogt in the building.
Man, what a great night at Ball Arena. What a great night. And, a blowout's a blowout, even if you don't think a team's too good. And for what it's worth, that team had been playing well, fellas. Number one defense, more or less, for the last month in the NBA. Didn't look like it last night.
Can't tell if it was a good win, against a good team, because they look so bad, but the Nuggets look so good.
It's a little bit of both, I think.
It's a little bit of both, man. Harrison wins in the building.
I'm treating it as a good win. Because my feeling heading into that game was a lot of us were a little unsure how real this win streak was.
Yeah.
They had played bad competition for real up until last night. But, Portland was the hottest team in the NBA. They had almost their full lineup out there. The Nuggets obliterated what was the NBA's best defense over the last 3 weeks or so. Obliterated.
Yeah.
Put up 150 points practically. So I'm counting it as a good win. That's me, though.
I'm counting it as a good win as well. Less because of the competition. You can beat a bad team and not look good. You can beat a bad team by 15 points sometimes, and you're like, whatever. It wasn't that good. Last night, I loved the way they played.
Oh, they just played great. They played great. And it was defense for 6 minutes, and that did fall off a cliff, but that's mostly because the offense picked it up after that. They opened the game 11 for 11 from the field, guys. They shot, when it was all said and done, 78.8% from 2-point range. That ties
Nuggets basketball.
That ties for the record for the highest percentage from two amongst teams that have taken at least 50 of those. And they did that, fellas. That's per Matt Moore, and they did that in the 3-point era while only shooting 8 3-pointers, I should say.
Who has the record? Or who did they tie?
Good question. I would go to Matt with that, and he's not here, so that's not very helpful. But I think, and then as I told you guys, 88 paint points, which is a season high, 22 of those for Christian Braun, 44 assists. Yeah. That's good basketball no matter who you're playing, and it's an extension of a run where the Nuggets are back in rhythm.
Before we get too deep into this, I do want to announce that tonight at 6 o'clock Mountain, 6 to 8, me and Tim Legler are going to be doing our playback live second screen experience. It's like Red Zone. We're going to be flipping through games. I think it'll be really cool. Legs also was on the call for that Lakers game last night, and I know he has some stories to tell from that. So you want to go to playback.tv/AllNBA show and just do it as a favor. Yeah. I got to get a lot of signups in there. We've actually had a really good number. But go there. It's going to be fun, and you can join us tonight. You should hop on, too, if you want, if you feel so inclined.
Wow.
Hop on. Let's chop it up, the fellas.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go to some hangover takes. I know we're kind of already off and running here. Vote, just because you weren't, you shared a little bit here, but just because you weren't on the show, is there anything that you think wasn't discussed or that you woke up thinking this is a storyline that's going under the radar?
Yeah, I don't know if it went under the... We put it out there. I put it out there and I wrote about it. But Jamal Murray taking another young player under his wing. And I say another... Christian Braun stands out to me.
Yeah.
As the first rookie Jamal really embraced. I think you can see it on the court. I mean, Jamal's a point guard. It's his job to get the ball to all these guys. There's a trust level in Christian Braun, a palpable sense of encouragement in that connection. And last night, we're talking to Jalen Pickett about what it took to claw back into Malone's circle of trust here and put himself back on the map. And he's like, it was physical work, but mental work too. You had to fall in love with the grind. And he credited his veteran, Jamal Murray, for making it happen. And what you could see in the arena, perhaps on the broadcast, fellas, I saw it as I rewatched some clips last night. Very, very effusive and supportive Nuggets bench last night, perhaps no more so than Jamal Murray. When Jalen Pickett hits the booty ball bucket, Murray's screaming, man, and he's flexing. And in one of those assists at the end, the broadcast cuts to Murray, and he's just kind of miming it. And he's like, man, you know what I mean? Like, with a little sauce. And so just,
look, it was a nice little pass, though.
Boop, right? So we don't necessarily talk about Jamal Murray, the leader, very much. And this year, I think he's been much maligned for what he hasn't brought to the table, rightfully so, in that regard. So what a fun kind of turn of the tables here to hear from Jalen Pickett. That actually was Jamal, of all people, that really picked him up when he was down. And, you know, no matter how far this goes or doesn't go, it's leagues away from where it was just 6 months ago. So that's a really fun sports story, and cool to see Jamal had his fingerprints on it. This
is why sports are awesome, and basketball in particular. I mean, this is my big hangover take, and I do have some detailed notes here for a second, but basketball to me is the ultimate team game that's disguised as an individual game.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it great. And the Nuggets, like everyone always, when you say who's going to win the title this year, well, you got to have to deal with this player and this player and this player. And it's like, okay, that is part of it. It's a lot of talented guys. But when a group kind of starts to pull in the right direction, when teams are celebrating the way they were celebrating Jalen Pickett, guy on the end of the bench, and they're just going nuts for this dude, like to me, that is what it's all about. 44 assists with guys that hadn't been in the rotation. And now they're playing in the rotation and they're playing like that. It's inspiring. Like last night's game was kind of part of what I think we subconsciously absorbed from that was this is an inspiring performance of a bunch of guys that are celebrating the 12th guy on the roster making a contribution. And that's what was that last night's game might be my favorite one of the entire year.
Yeah, probably. And I mean, going back to the Nuggets winning the championship, they were the best team. They had the best player. They had the best starting five. But they were also just the most connected and in sync team out there by far.
I actually think it was more that though, because nobody was really picking them when the playoffs started.
Right.
And it was hilarious that by the time you got to like game 3 of the conference finals, everyone's like, no one's beating this team. I mean, look at all that talent.
Right.
You're like, what?
Well, it quickly shifted from, man, I don't know if the Nuggets are going to get by the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to get by the Suns to, man, there's just no competition.
Yeah.
This is a bad playoff run
It was
from
an
them
easy
because
run.
it was so easy. They didn't have to play anybody. Like that shifted in that Suns series and into the Lakers series when they swept them on the way to the finals. That just like that was the thing that put them over the top.
Yeah. I got some notes for you here on Jalen Pickett. Of course, guys, come on. He's, to me, one of the big stories of this.
His Nash dribble into that twirling layup.
That is a Nash dribble.
You know what?
What a freaking play, man.
That carousel layup.
Left hand also, he carried it in the left
in
and
my
then
Oh
dreams.
my God.
I don't think I gave you guys this note, actually. Michael Malone called it Bob Cousy layup.
Yeah, I saw that, Bob Cousy. Yeah, it kind of was a Bob Cousy,
With
to be
a
honest.
big old grin on his face, Malone.
Because this is part of what makes Yoke so dope. He makes these weird shots, and everyone's always like, he was lucky shot. He's
Totally.
doing this, and
Yeah,
now we know he
YMCA.
just makes it. Pickett has a similar thing to where he always looks like he's a little out of control, but
I love that.
you know what I mean? Because he kind of dribbles
Yeah,
like this.
high
But
dribble.
even that play, it was smooth in its awkwardness. You know, like he gets open.
Nobody else is doing that.
Nobody else is doing it. Yeah, and he has a lot of those. Even the fundamental bounce pass he had to Yoke. Do you know the one he's on the baseline and he just basically like bounce passes it hard for Yoke for a wide open layup?
Right.
There's something cool about fundamentals, and almost when they're so fundamental, they look awkward. Like that's just a bounce pass, but he did it so demonstrably that it looked like an 8-year-old doing like practicing a bounce pass, and it was for a wide open layup for the MVP.
Yeah, man. No matter how you get it there, you just got to get it there.
Everybody is trying. Here's what I love about guys like Pickett and guys like Yoke, and I do see a lot of similarities between them. Obviously, there's different levels to this. One's the greatest player I've ever witnessed in my life, and one I'm hopeful can be a backup point guard in the NBA. So, like, there's levels to this. But both of them have this trait of everybody goes and learns to shoot the same way, dribble the same way, play the same way, and everyone has an archetype that it's like, I'm trying to be this thing. And basketball works that way.
Yeah.
But some players, it's almost like they taught themselves the game. They're playing it their own way. And Yoke's the best example of this. He plays basketball his own way. That's why it's hard to comp him. Like, who's he like? He's kind of like Bird. He's kind of like this, but he's his own player. And I think Pickett is a little bit like this. 6'1". Oh, yeah, I'll just be a bully. You're like, wait, what? I'm point guard. Yeah, I'll just post up. I'll do like, he does like weird stuff. Circle the basket all the way around and then get a layup out of it. It's not, you don't draw that up, but he has a style of play that's just like he feels the game. He doesn't, he's not executing a plan. He just feels the game, and weird stuff happens when you just feel it.
Yeah, and he's totally unique, and we love unique players. I mean, Jokic is the most unique out of any player in the league, and Jalen Pickett also very unique.
And I'm such a believer in when you put two unique players together, you can start to make magic, especially when they are a duo, right? A point guard and a center is a duo. So, a couple notes, and you can pull this up, Kale. Last night, the picture I sent you, last night, everybody knows split cuts. This is from the old triangle offense. You throw the ball in the post, and the two guards, one will screen for the other, so you can slip, you can do a bunch of different things. They ran this last night with Pickett as the post up and Jokic as the shooter. I just love this. We've run a lot of like inverted actions, but you're posting up your point guard for Jokic Julian to run a split cut action. Now, it didn't work, but I love that Michael Malone went into this game and was like, you know what? Let's throw it into Pickett and have Jokic run the cut and slip. It's like this type of stuff. I don't think they're building towards anything. I think he's just filling in right now, but I love that they tried something so ridiculous.
I mean, a foundation of that is Jamal as the screener, which is something they've done forever, so it's maybe an offshoot of that a little bit.
We'll get to that even here in a second. But the idea of this, like, Yoke's on the floor, let's post up Pickett.
Yeah, it's a very long departure from can this guy even be on the floor in garbage time, right? They've come a very long way to let's get creative to put, not just be creative, but also put him in an advantage and put him in an advantageous situation. And for me, man, watching some of the passes Pickett made last night, there were some spots where usually the ball just goes right back to Jokic as it should. And Pickett kind of would just make the advanced read. Like, then he hit Julian, and then he hit
Julian
Zeke.
under the basket, where you're like,
I swear, man, like, I'm projecting here, but I swear you can almost see Jokic go, huh. You know what I mean? Like,
he had one where you could see he was like laughing and like clapping down the court.
Normally the ball just goes right to him, and then he hits a little floater over like 14 defenders. But this time, someone else just made the advanced read, and I don't know. In my opinion, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I thought I saw a little bit of him just going, huh. Something there.
Pickett made passes that passers make. You know, there's some like everybody can make a pass. This is not a knock on Michael Porter. He's not like a passer.
No, he's not.
So like, but Pickett made a couple that you're talking about where you're like, oh, there's nothing there. Oh wait, there is something there. Wide open layup.
Yes,
you got
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And Jokic joked that like Zeke was wide open.
Yeah, on that one.
You know what, man?
Kind of.
He was wide open because Pickett made an awesome read, a read that a lot of people might miss in that moment because they're just thinking, let's get the ball to Jokic.
Yeah.
But so look,
what Pickett also does on those plays is, there's a guy open in the corner, you just pass it to him, and he's open, and maybe he makes the shot. What Pickett does, and what some of the great passers and readers of the game do, is they'll dribble, maybe in one direction, so that player's defender shades over a tad.
Even more.
And then throw the pass, so they have that extra couple feet of room to make that shot. Like, that's what Jokic does on pretty much every pass that he makes.
Right.
He does a little extra read, extra head fake, extra look to get that defender just a little more off. Pickett has that too.
Yeah. And Russ has that as well.
Absolutely.
Russ but you mentioned inverted pick and roll. Pickett's great screener. He's really strong.
Yeah.
He has and so they ran a lot of inverted pick and roll last night. And they ran one play in particular, and I think they did a couple times. They ran one play where Yoke was calling, like they ran a screen, Yoke comes off, it didn't work, and Yoke's like, come back, let's do it again. And Pickett's just like, all right, like I know it's, he reads it too, and he gets a pick and pop 3-point shot. Yeah. And it's just like, I think he would be a really good inverted action player with Yoke. And that's part of what makes Yoke so different is you're flipping the world on its head for the defense, and he just is capable of doing that. Another thing he does that I absolutely love. When I talk about it's all small little things that go under the radar. He catches on the move better than anyone else on the team. Even Russ does this sometimes, and he's obviously more explosive when he does. But Pickett seems to have a natural understanding for when he needs to catch and shoot, when he needs to catch and swing, and when he needs to catch and go, like catch on the move so that the defense, there's no advantage here. Well, then I need to run into the catch so that now the defender has to like move right away. And he had like 5 or 6 of these last night. And those plays, when I talk about Yoke will always create a half-step advantage. He can't always, although he often creates a full-step advantage, but he can't always. So if you have players that are able to turn a half-step into another half-step, and Pickett's just that. And I think it's honestly part of why their offense hummed the way it did is it's like everything Yoke did got multiplied by 2 when the ball found Pickett.
Man, just a mini Yoke.
He is. I have to say, I've made this comment before. And I went back and watched one of our shorts that we made from 2 years ago when they drafted him. And I was talking about, if you look at his profile as like his box scores, he played the same team 3 times once in college, like his senior year. In one game, he had 40 points. In another game, he had a triple-double. And on one game, he had 18 rebounds. And it's like, this is such a Jokic thing,
That's
right?
something Yoke would do. Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're guarding me one-on-one, score. Oh, they have to switch up now, triple-double. Oh, like it's a defensive battle, 18 rebounds. And he's 6'1", you know? Like, so he seems to not care what it is he's doing. He just can do a lot of different things, again, on a smaller level. And the last one that I thought was so interesting from rewatch, he plays the dunker spot.
Yeah.
And the reason I love this, some teams do this, like the Kings have been pretty good at this because you can bring your center out so the rim protector's out. Who do you put there? Aaron Gordon? Well, it's a power forward that's guarding him. And even though Denver's really good at just throwing the lob and making that work, when you put a guard, especially a point guard, the smallest player is going to guard Pickett. Now guess who your rim protector is? The other team's point guard. And so like even if they play good defense, Pickett's there and he'll know how to read it and he can do something when the ball's there. But more than anything, it's like you have to now be the rim protector, shortest guy on the other team.
Yeah.
And it just, you can't stop it.
It's the rebounding advantages too from that.
Well, also he's a bully. Like in a weird way, it's like he can't out rebound your power forward, but he can't out rebound your guard.
Yeah. Just booty ball him into the third row.
We got to hit a break. Are we late here, Kel, on this break here? All right, let's hit a break. On the other side, we'll continue this hangover takes.
You got a little too excited.
I got a little excited.
You missed the break.
And we're not done. There's more Pickett takes in the tank here. How about Mando? Mando's a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. That's the whole body, fellas. The whole body. The pits do smell. They do get sweaty. It's not the whole deal, man. Body odor, it's not armpit odor, it's body odor. So make sure you're taking care of your bodies. We're talking pits, belly buttons, balls, butt cracks, grundles, munders, and more. Their scents are geared towards men with options like bourbon, leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport. So if it's important to you that that it doesn't just smell good, but it smells like a man, that can be done with Mando. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping as a special offer for our listeners. New customers get $5 off the starter pack with our exclusive code. That's going to equate to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code DNVR at shopmando.com. That's shopmando, MANDO.com. Support them, support us. Tell them that we're the ones who sent you.
Also, check out Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 when you sign up and download the app. You can download it with the QR code right there on the screen. Bet365 has something really cool called an early payout offer. This actually hit last night. If your team goes up by 20 points, you get an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections. Get those marked as winners. It's the Bet365 early payout offer. Nuggets go up by 20, boom, you win. Just like that.
They've been doing that these days, man.
They have been doing that, actually.
Never ordinary at Bet365, and you get that early payout offer. That's certainly never ordinary. You can use the code DNVR365 when you sign up and download the app. Bet along with us on the pregame show. Win some money with us and Superstar Dev. Must be 21 plus, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, we're back here, segment 2. Everybody go, by the way, big shout out to Brennan Vogt. Been writing a ton lately, some really good stories, and it's a huge reason why you should become a DNVR diehard. It's not very expensive. You get access to all the articles, but, you know, written content, we're doing something on this show. But written content is the story of, is shepherding you through the season. And like last night was the Pickett game. It was a CB game as well, but it's like that's the story. And
Yeah.
shout out to Vote. You guys should become a diehard because you're getting great written articles every single day. And there's a lot of great writers in the market. There's people. Nobody is as invested as DNVR is in the like depth of what is going on with the team. And he's a hell of a writer.
And that comes across in his and all of our writing too.
100%.
Yeah, all of ours.
Our writing's a little bit different than what you get at the other outlets, and that's fine. Everybody has a place, but we are more invested, and it's just going to feel a little different. The little details, the little stuff you pick up at the arena, you'll get that at a level that's pretty cool in our writing.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Any other hangover takes before we move on? I mean, it was a Pickett heavy
Just
one.
one more
but
on Jalen, but it's we're talking about some of the fun stuff he gets to do, but it's layers, right? And part of this was Jalen had to adjust. Jalen was not going to get to walk in and play booty ball day one. And he had to adjust. He had to put the work in. He had to do things a certain way. And then when you start playing with confidence, right? Like we're seeing Christian Braun hit turnaround fading jumpers into the baseline. You play with confidence and you get your opportunity and you've earned some leeway. Then, it's the late third quarter. You've got a big lead. That guy's too small. Yeah, man, go into the post. Now it's your moment.
Yeah, he
now
found
it's your
found
turn,
little spots.
right? But it started after several spot starts or spot backups in which just defense swing, defense swing. But as his turn came, he sort of found a way to work it in, and that's part of it, man. Is so many of these guys are the best versions of themselves at D1 or something like it. You got to port that into the NBA, and that's not always a linear process.
The one thing I'll say about this, because I know me and D-Line off camera, we're having a big argument about this. Booty ball was not the only thing he did.
No.
Like in college, he was also a pick and roll point guard.
course,
He did a bunch of different things. And that's why the booty ball portion of this, right now, you're right that he is being pretty conservative. He let it fly a little bit in the fourth quarter where it's like, all right, the game's
got
over.
a little loose with
I'll
it.
get a little loose. But he's being extremely conservative. That's why he has 0 or 1 turnover. It's because he's not putting himself in position to do
He
that.
did have 9 assists though last night.
Last
So
game was the most
It's
he
not like
stepped
he's
outside.
not making plays for others.
Right.
But I just mean there are, like, if you think about what's different about how he played in college versus now, there were more times when he would be like, oh, I know I can do something here. Whereas right now he's like, I'll just get it back to Yoke.
Sure.
And I do, I don't think it's going to happen this year because I think he's only got a couple more games in the rotation. Everybody gets back. I think he's back out. But, and Michael Malone kind of alluded to that yesterday about like, while he has this opportunity,
It was
it's
like
exciting.
if Russell Westbrook wasn't here, he'd be a backup
when
point
Russell
guard.
Something
Westbrook
like that, yeah.
Russell Westbrook is out, Jalen Pickett is a rotation
Right.
player.
That's
which
what
is
he said.
fair, right?
I mean,
he's
that's it.
had a short slew of good games here. But I do think that there is another layer to this that you mentioned with Christian Braun. It's a good segue. Once you get comfortable, then you spread your wings a little bit. And I do think he has a little bit more risk taking he can do without becoming a turnover liability. But right now, he's being very conservative. You mentioned the fall away jumper. Christian Braun, we talked about, he has a bag. This was a week ago. We were like, he kind of has a bag. He's starting to do the crossover. His first step is actually kind of quick. You don't have to just give him finishing plays now. He can actually create a little bit. And then last night, he did a turnaround fall away jumper in ISO and nothing but net. And you're like, Wind, I swear to God, I thought I knew exactly what this guy's ceiling is. Yeah. I even talked about maybe you trade him because Peyton Watson. I'll take a huge L on that one.
Right.
This guy is showing that he actually has some upside as an offensive creator. Like a guy that actually puts pressure on the defense. You can't just throw your worst defender on him. No, somebody has to have the strength and speed to keep up with him now, and he's getting more confident.
And a big reason why is because of his size and strength and physicality. I mean, Christian Braun is 6'6" and big and strong. For a shooting guard, that's great size. Like, you've got to put a big defender on him, or he's just going to barrel his man to the paint and score at the rim every time. Like, he's figured out, like, if I have a smaller guy on me, if it's in the half court or transition, if I just start going to the rim, I can probably outmuscle that guy. So that's a big advantage he has on a lot of his defenders. And I'm not willing to say he's got a huge bag quite yet.
I didn't say he had a huge bag.
He's got, like,
I didn't say he had a huge bag. I said he had a bag.
He's got like that mini Ziploc, like the one that you put snacks in. The smallest.
You're selling him short.
You know, like in the Ziploc bags, you have the gallon, the quart, and then the small snack
the small one. Yeah,
that's his bag right
for
now.
Pills, basically. Only.
Yeah, just like the snacks you give your first grader for their lunch or something. But that's more than I thought he had a month ago.
Once thought bagless.
Right.
thought to
I
the
thought he didn't
bagless.
have a bag at all.
I think the bag is slightly big. I think that's the bag I thought he had, and he's up to the full like medium size.
I'm not
you
willing
know,
to go
like,
there yet.
Fanny pack?
He's got a fanny pack right now.
he's
He's
getting
got a fanny pack.
He does get into that mode where sometimes he just goes like crossover,
Go.
and then like sometimes he doesn't get anywhere, but sometimes he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, by the way, is the secret
Spin
to
move.
basketball just Euro stepping to the rim?
Yeah, just
And not-
right through your
don't
defender.
do
The
anything
Gary
else
Harris.
but that.
Right
Yeah.
through your defender. Maybe you get a charge, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to the line.
Also, it's weird because I don't know if I would describe it as touch, but I think I probably have to at this point because
Yeah,
it's brute force, but they're all going in, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even ones that you think like, well, that has a little more funk or English or that angle was tough. They're going in.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily look feathery. He's kind of chucking it off the backboard sometimes, but they're going in. And I try to imagine the runaway train that is Christian's confidence right now.
I love this take.
You know? Try to imagine, and as this year has had all its other kind of wrinkles and storylines and ups and downs, one guy's had a pretty good time. One guy's had a pretty good time out there, and that's been Christian Braun, who I don't want to say discovering because he probably thought it of himself, but the rest of us are discovering that, you know, he's not just a bit player in the NBA, and he's kept it so simple. If you know how to play and you run hard and you play with 15, you're going to get your chances. And Christian's just done an incredible job of like feasting without overextending.
Yeah. The confidence thing to me is so big, man. And it's why I'm so defensive of a lot of like, you know, obviously defensive of Pickett. Even with Zeke, you know, I've kind of like stepped in and remember the Spurs back in the Tim Duncan era. Maybe you guys don't, but they would always draft well. The Spurs just draft the best, man. They always find these hidden gems. And I thought maybe they just have this culture where players go there, become their best self, and are injected with confidence so that they are more likely to hit. Like it's better actually to get drafted by the Spurs. Not that the Spurs necessarily draft the best guys. And I think there's something to this. Like confidence is so much for these players. Pickett was playing with confidence yesterday, and he looked like his best version. We saw him in Summer League. Did he look like a guy that had confidence?
No, he looked like he was out of the league.
But he also looked to me like a guy that wanted to hide.
Yeah.
You remember he like came out of one of the games at Summer League and just didn't go back in, and I think it was his choice.
Yeah, it was done.
I think he was like, no,
Yeah.
man. I'm like,
Yeah.
like his confidence was so bad he didn't even want to be on the court because it was like nothing I do is going to work right now. And is he a massively different player between then and now? I'm sure he's worked on his game.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's been working on his game. He was an All-American. Like he's been doing that stuff. I'm sure he's made a small leap, but it was a confidence leap. And with Christian, to me, that confidence is fully unlocked at this very moment. And what's weird is he had a good confidence and then he gets benched, handled it well. But it's almost like being back in the starting lineup was like he beat the final boss.
Yeah.
He's like, that didn't beat me. I got benched and that didn't beat me. This is who I am. Career highs every night.
I mean, his season took a little step up after he started coming off the bench too.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it motivated him because he did win the starting 2-guard job.
Yep.
You know, and the big offseason question around this team was the number one question: can Christian Braun step in for KCP? Like that was the question. We talked about it endlessly. I'm sure the Nuggets talked about it a lot. I'm sure Christian Braun heard a lot of that. He won the starting 2-guard job. He stepped in for KCP. He's better than KCP in a lot of areas, almost every area, I'd say. And he earned it. Then he got pushed to the bench, and now he's back in the starting lineup. So it's been a cool story, and I don't see it slowing down at all.
Now let's think about it. Let's extrapolate it because one, obviously he's going to be up for a contract. I think he's just been a known commodity. We know what it is. But here's the thing I start thinking about. Jokic, offensive player, Murray, offensive player. That's your bread and butter. So now you're putting role players around him. Michael Porter, almost exclusively an offensive player and a shooter. He's a spacer. Aaron Gordon, a two-way guy, but more on this team, a little bit more defense than offense, but he's a two-way guy. Christian was like, all right, that's your defensive guy. So you have two offensive stars, a two-way guy, an offense guy, and a defense guy. And now I look at it and I go, Christian is a value-add offensive player and a two-way player. And that gives you the flexibility, in my opinion, going forward about how you build your roster. Not just the starting lineup, but like you think about a Peyton Watson. How do you play him? Well, he can't play with, you put not enough spacing and scoring out there and that stuff. I'm looking at it going a year from now, is Christian Braun not a negative on, even without Yoke, you're like, yeah, but his bag is medium sized. He can do this. Like now you don't have to worry as much, so you can bring in guys who are a little bit more one dimensional. I'm starting to think that might be the case, that he is a two-way player that can actually work with multiple lineups, which allows you the flexibility to not have to only pick specific types of players to fill out your roster.
It's a really good point because lineup flexibility is sort of all of a sudden it's one of Denver's biggest problems. After years past, I think kind of having really maybe mostly the title year, they had more of it. But yeah, that's important. And I also think, man, not to deviate too far from your point because it's a good one, but as I think about how sort of rounded out the offense is now and potent it is now, because Christian is another guy that can just give you 15 to 18, I hope Aaron Gordon kind of just becomes that defensive guy. You know, it almost as integral as he is to what they do in their half court offense. Like they don't need Aaron Gordon to score 15 points at this point. They just don't. Yeah. If he can be a tertiary playmaker and a rebounder, and then that other defender that's in a lineup with CB, you know, I wonder if and as he gets healthier, if his focus can go back into that department, what that unlocks for the starting lineup so that Christian can continue to leak out into transition, focus on attacking the rim. Because as good as he is, it's really hard to be a two-way player the more you take on your plate offensively. So maybe Aaron Gordon is just part of the equation now as more of the defensive kind of stud.
Yeah. And I do think a lot of the lineup versatility and what we think about Christian Braun and his offense might be determined by how he looks in the playoffs. I'm still a little curious about how this is going to translate to the playoffs. A little less fast break.
Right.
A little less transition. You know, they're probably just going to play him for the drive in the playoffs too every time. You know, when the scouting report gets out there and teams game plan a little more, they're going to force him to take that three-point shot too. How does he look when he kind of has to adjust his game a tiny bit?
Right.
So I am curious to see how that looks. But you also have 82 games that you have to get through the regular season. Like everybody says, yeah, everything's determined by the playoffs. Well, you also have 82 games in the regular season. That's a big part of basketball too. So it does give the Nuggets a lot more versatility. Absolutely. It does change how you look at the starting lineup and the role players on this team. And unfortunately for the Nuggets, it's going to put his next contract way higher than I think anybody thought it was going to be.
Oh, man. We need him to go in a slump. All right,
no, we don't.
These are good problems to have.
Well, the Nuggets might have two new trade assets on their hands in Pickett and Zeke Nnaji. So let's take a break. On the other side, we'll talk about what does this mean. Well, we'll talk about that on the other side.
What time is it? Oh, it's 3:47 p.m. No, more specifically, it's Miller time.
Miller time.
Yeah, good guess though. Tastes like Miller time. Miller Lite's great, man, because sometimes you want a beer, but you don't want to feel like you drank a beer. Not in the moment, not the next day. Certainly not when you go to put those slightly tighter pair of pants on for work. You know what I mean? That's why I like Miller Lite, because it tastes great. It tastes like beer. That's what beer should do, but it's light. As you know, as advertised, the first light beer, the best light beer, the taste you can depend on. No games, no gimmicks, just a great beer for people who like beer brewed for taste. Hits different than the others. Simple ingredients like malted barley for rich, balanced toffee note flavors and the iconic golden color. It is gold. It's beautiful. 96 calories and just 3.2 grams of carbs per 12 ounces. Miller time. It's always a good time, friends. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/DNVR to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. You know about Miller Lite. Go to a beer store. It's there. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Red Hawk Roofing, the best roofers in Denver and Colorado and the country. These are our guys. Quality materials, decades of experience, quick response time. Colorado's best estimators and contractors. Huge DNVR supporters as well.
Trying to go fishing with these guys.
Yeah.
I'm scheming right now.
I forgot to tell you guys, on my way out of the arena last night, Red Hawk Roofing yelling at me from a suite. I'm feeling a little famished. It's the end of the night. The boys let me in, had some pizza. What a treat.
That's hell yeah.
There you go.
Shout out, Red. They're real people looking out for real
Living
people.
the sweet life at a Nuggets game. Red Hawk Roofing. Wow. Free no obligation
Shout out,
roofing
Brad.
property inspections, free in-depth photo reports for all inspections. Supporting your local teams means supporting local businesses. These guys are local. They're Denver. They're Colorado. They care about the community. So support them. If you have any roof needs, home, business, whatever it might be, 720-771-8921, redhawkroofing.com.
All right, back here, segment 3. Reminder, tonight, 6 o'clock Eastern, me and Tim Legler, playback.tv/AllNBA show. Go sign up.
Very cool.
All right. So,
6 Eastern?
sorry, 8 Eastern.
I was
6
going to say
Mountain.
that's in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain. The trade deadline. I'm doing both at once.
Game's on right there.
That's great.
Sometimes it's how it feels, to be honest.
Yeah,
I know. You just have to go from one thing to the next, and you're like, I'm this guy, now I'm this guy.
Right now, right?
Oh, man. So the trade deadline has come and gone, and ironically is now when these guys are getting their big chance right
Interesting, Adam. Interesting.
It is very interesting.
Why?
Why is that? Yeah. But I mean, look, man, one of the things that I've been adamant about, like, people this year, I feel like, have been more bothered by some of my, perspective on this specific topic, which is a lot of teams play guys into bench. This idea that the Nuggets have 8 unplayable guys, you can't even play them. Like, I don't think any team has 8 unplayable guys, man. These are NBA guys. They might not be your stars, but there's something there. You just have to find it. You have to cultivate it and get it going. These two playing so well, a week ago, they were trying to trade him. Calvin Booth went to the podium and said, we're trying to trade these guys. They're not in the rotation. Zeke, Nnaji, Jalen, Pickett. But now you look at it, now that they're playing well, the first question is, how much more of this until their trade value is restored for both guys? Because right now, Pickett to me looks like a player that you would look at and go, 2 more years, $2 million a year? I think that's worth a try.
Yeah, I think Pickett, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think Pickett is honestly pretty close, if not already there. Because the contract...
It's nothing. That's the smallest contract.
Isn't bad if he's a player.
If he's a player.
The problem was that it didn't look like he was or just however you looked at it, Malone wasn't going to use him. Yeah. So it's another guy on contract not playing at the end of the bench. That looked like a problem. The second he becomes valuable, well, these are the kind of contracts GMs are going to start to give out in this new CBA. Like Booth, for whatever he got right or wrong, like he's right about that kind of general sentiment, right? Like teams are going to start looking at this with control for younger, cheaper players. Pickett fits the bill. Zeke's different, man. Like Zeke, this has been a good.
That's real money.
It's real money. It's
not that big, but
no, but it's because with Pickett you go cheap flyer.
Yeah.
For Zeke, you're going. I mean, it's a flyer. I don't know how cheap it is.
Right.
Yeah, and that was part of why he couldn't move at the deadline. So it's nice to see him play well, but Zeke is probably still in sweetener territory. Whereas I think Pickett is moving his way closer to just being a guy that you roll the dice on if you're a team.
Yeah, easier to deal, probably Pickett. But in terms of value, I wonder if it's Zeke, eventually, maybe this summer or something. Because I wonder if with Pickett, it's still hard to see, if you're just not watching him every single night.
You don't think 100+ minutes, 1 turnover will be a thing that stands out a little bit, just statistically?
I think that would stand out, absolutely. But I do wonder if another GM's 6'2", unathletic, doesn't really have a premier skill other than he's a smart player. Is that the guy I'm going to take a flyer on? Maybe, but I could see he doesn't fit the mold of a classic player, and I could see that turning teams off. I mean, they might be stupid to be turned off by that, but I just could see teams thinking that way. With Zeke, 6'9", athlete, defense, I just think it's more quantifiable. He looks more like a classic prototype guy that is on, other teams throughout the league coming off the bench that I think you could sell yourself on. But the money makes it tough. So, I mean, if you're just freewheeling and, yeah, we'll take Pickett, that's a way lower leverage play. Zeke is a bigger risk because of the money, but I think he'd be an easier guy to sell maybe.
The thing is for the pick at the low end, you hope that some team is holding on to the 45th pick in the draft and they don't like anyone and they're like, all right, we'll take Pickett rather than the draft and we'll give you our second pick. And Denver almost resets. They get off the salary and they get a pick that they can use or whatever. Maybe it's something like that at this very moment. Although you guys know I love him and I would love to see this continue to grow. I want the Pickett fence to continue. But Zeke, the only thing Zeke has going in his favor that Pickett doesn't have is, and who knows how this plays out, but I think Zeke will have more opportunity to keep playing. I mean, Pickett might go on vacation for this break and not play again the rest of the year. It's entirely possible if everyone's healthy. Whereas I think Zeke actually fills a need that something Denver needs positionally, And while he's playing well right now, it doesn't mean he'll play well in 2 weeks if everyone's back. But at least there's a path to be like, hey, man, he just had a good 2 weeks. Let's put him in the rotation and see if he can eat up some of those minutes.
If you're trying to get the rotation to 9 guys, like I do think Zeke, because you're looking for another big. Like, Pickett is literally a point guard who is behind Jamal Murray and a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
So it's not like, it's not really a slight to go, he's the next man up. Like, he's the third point guard. Yeah. And Strother is an off-ball scoring option. It's a bit, even if you feel like that's more of a project because of the defense, it's kind of a funny reversal, but that's kind of you can understand it, right? They're committed to Strother. This is the look right now they're trying, and Pickett's the next guy. Whereas if you can get something out of Zeke, I mean, they really need it.
Well, that money means a real player. And that, like Pickett, you're trading him, like I said, a second-round pick. Maybe you get somebody else's end of bench guy. Like, it's not a value, but Zeke, in theory, if it becomes neutral, another team, a young team, might be like, well, we have Corey Kispert on the same deal, but we're trying to rebuild, so we'll take your younger guy, whatever.
Makes sense. Look, and Zeke is a guy who, look, if he plays well, you do need another big body to kind of be a 4 and play defense and help you out in the regular season. So, like, the timeline lines up for Zeke. It's just as Wynn said that he's so expensive.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see. I mean, it is funny that literally 3 weeks ago, it was like 2 untradeable contracts that can't happen. And right now, both guys were just like, what am I most excited about for tomorrow's game?
Pickett
Honestly,
and
right
Zeke.
now it's Jalen Pickett. And Yoke's going to be more fun, and Christian's playing awesome. But Pickett's the new thing right now that I'm like, man, if he has another good game in a row,
man.
it's exciting.
I have an injury report, too, and it is the same. Peyton Watson, Russell Westbrook remain out. Michael Porter Jr. questionable.
Yeah, he'll be out.
Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon probable.
They'll probably play. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I hate to dwell on old stuff, but it does have to make you a little pissed off that these guys couldn't get on the court at all for the first 40 games of the year.
I think this is an important part of this.
And I hope it's a lesson for the Nuggets and this coaching staff about how to manage the regular season better, because it's crazy that these guys couldn't play and they couldn't get on the court, couldn't get minutes, and thus the reputation was they suck. Yeah. They're unplayable, and then they're untradeable. So I just hope it's a lesson that everybody can look in the mirror and say, man, like, this could have happened in November. Right. This could have happened in December.
Because where would we be at the trade deadline if they had 2 or 3 of these little pockets earlier in the year? Like, that might be a team out there that's like, man, I saw that Jalen Pickett 9 assist game, and like that guy has something for $2 million. Or Zeke Nnaji, I saw some, athletic. I think he fits with our guy.
And it's not even like they're just stringing together a couple wins here. They've won 7 in a row with these guys.
Yeah. League's longest.
Playing real rotation minutes. Oh. I mean, it's not a fluke. So that's my downer take on all of it.
And it's not even, like you said, you hope that it's a learning point. And the reason I was low coming into the year, a couple fold, like I was low on the Nuggets. And I still think that it's positive. Like, they have a tough stretch coming up. They could easily fall to 4 seed. 5. We just saw what happened to the Houston Rockets. 2 seed, 5 seed. Like, it could happen like that, and it's still Denver is not out of the woods on that. But the reason I was low was, one, I knew Jamal Murray was likely to was coming into the season not in top shape, and I knew that was going to, so we're not going to get that. And because I knew the vibes around the synergy of vision between coaching staff and front office was still where it had been the previous year, and so I worried about things like this. I hope that this year represents the end of that. I hope this year represents a mutual appreciation, because Michael Malone's a great coach. He has a lot of great traits. Mm-hmm. And I've long said that while Calvin Booth also has flaws, the one thing everyone has ever told me, both in Denver and outside of it, was that he's an incredible scout. His eye for talent is really good. That's not the only part of being a GM.
Right.
There's a million other things, actually, and you have to be good at as many as you can. But in terms of like identifying who's a guy and who's not, I've had so many people tell me Cal's as good as anyone in the business. And you hope that you can just find the synergy there to be like, you know what? We got to get these guys playing, because at the very least they're valuable later on when we need to plug a hole with another roster spot.
And there is still a tightrope walk for Malone, as much as I appreciate him embracing this. There's some of it I just made that argument about Pickett as the third point guard, and you can go, can't he play anyway? At a certain point, if you open this up to a 9-10 man rotation, these non-Jokic minutes are going to stop going so well. Part of it is that there are some pretty intense staggers as well. I don't know, there's a bit of as the Nuggets expand this, it can get them in trouble too. So it's nice to see the contributions from these guys as needed.
As a pushback, though, Oklahoma
They
City
did play an 8-man rotation and lost the
and
Bulls.
lost that game. But as a pushback on the other side, Oklahoma City in their first week of the year played A.J. Mitchell. They had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They had Lou Dort, Kaysen Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso. They had
Isaiah
all
Joe.
these guys as guards, and they had a rookie that
Yeah.
they drafted late, and they were like, you know what? We're playing him. We're going to go with a 7-guard rotation in our first week and continue to play it because they had the long vision of it. And so you're not wrong, but I also think that it is possible. You just have to commit to it.
You have to commit to. The only thing I would say is I just think Malone was operating from a large folder of evidence that suggested we suck at this.
Yeah.
So I do get that part of it.
But the way they played it also sucked at it, right?
I agree. And maybe that would have gone better had they gone with this look from the start. So
Let's go into some career highs here, guys, because I just thought this would be a fun conversation as we look at it. Let's start with Nikola Jokic. A lot of career highs this year. He is having a career high season in points, 29.8, which I already know what's going to happen this year. He's going to not average 30. He's going to average 29.8.
I mean, he can't even get on the floor in fourth quarters
that's the
anymore.
problem, man.
It doesn't matter. It's awesome, but it is going to be one of those things. Like, remember that year he almost averaged a 30-point triple-double? Almost?
Yeah, and it's like he was leading the league in scoring for almost half the season.
10.3 assists is a career high. 1.8 steals is a career high. 45.6% from three. Yeah, you guys guessed it. That's a career high. 4.5 threes per game is a career high attempts. Field goals, 19.6. He's taking more shots. And, of course, minutes. 30. By the way, 36 doesn't seem that high.
Yeah.
This resting fourth quarters really has lowered his minutes per game to where 36, that's about what you expect.
Yeah. And I mean, the hope is over the rest of the season, he can keep sitting out as many fourth quarters as possible.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing. It really has been.
That's a lot of categories to have career highs when you're this deep into the season, your career, and have 3 MVPs.
I think one really somehow under-discussed.
Yeah, that's wild.
One really somehow under-discussed talking point about Denver and their title chances. Is this guy not about to unleash one of the most insane playoff runs we've ever seen? I mean, it hasn't happened yet, right? It could not happen.
But if you were betting, all signs suggest.
Yeah, all signs suggest we're in for the greatest playoff run of all time.
The guy who led all players in points, rebounds, and assists in a championship run. You just told me he's better in virtually every category.
Right.
Yeah, virtually everyone.
So I feel like this is a factor as far as Denver's playoff chances. Jokic is on another level. Yeah. And I think the craziest part is almost everyone in Denver would tell you, is it because he's found an 8th gear? No, no, he's just better. Yeah. And maybe, guys, there's a chance you enter the All-Star break where Jokic has played fewer minutes than he did last year, total minutes heading into the break with a very, very similar record to what you had. So the Jokic season's looking good.
I saw someone on Twitter last night. Sorry, I apologize that I don't remember who, but they put out
Jake Shapiro. I know what you were going to say. Total minutes.
They took out every like last heave that Jokic has shot, and his 3-point percentage, if you take those out, is still over 50%. And we're at the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So I thought heaves didn't count if you missed them.
Really?
Wasn't that a thing?
I don't think so.
But wasn't that a thing they were gonna do?
No, I think they talked about it. Which is, by the way, I hope they don't, because I think it is such a great litmus test for real ones versus not real ones.
Oh my God! Are you a coward or are you not a coward?
And that's what I'm saying. And so I love that Yo can be. He hasn't missed from the field. 1 second left. No chance of making the speed. F it. I'll try it anyway. Dude, I love that Jokic
whenever
is
a player
to.
Doesn't take a heave, man.
Yep, judge him.
I judge the heck out of him.
Judge him.
By
not
the way,
a winner.
Like, you are a coward.
Jokic put like 11 of them up, and then a few games later, Michael Porter put one up.
I like, yeah.
You know what? I don't know if he puts that up if Jokic isn't.
Of course, Jokic leads the league.
I want the Nuggets heaving everywhere.
Yeah, dude.
Also, he has the highest box plus minus of all time, highest win shares per 48.
Is funny.
Or actually, second highest win shares per 48, highest PER. And single game highs for him. He scored 56. That was a career high. He took 39 field goal attempts. That is also a career high.
Oh, wow.
He made
I think
22.
he'll probably get 60 in the playoffs.
Oh, man. And he took 13 threes, which is by far a career high. All right, let's move on to Jamal Murray. Very short list here. Minutes, highest ever. Steals, highest ever. And this is one that kind of surprised me. Free throw attempts, highest ever. So even though his year has obviously been down relative to previous years, he is getting to the line more than ever, and he's also playing more minutes than ever by a little bit.
Yeah. The minutes, don't love that, especially with how banged up he's been. It's kind of crazy he's averaging a career high in minutes. And the free throw attempt is good. 3.5 per game, still not a ton, though.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of
Ethical
other
guard.
guards in his position.
He's
is
an
an ethical
ethical
guard.
scorer, man.
He really is, yeah.
He really is. Goes after him the hard way. Doesn't flop a ton.
All right, let's go to Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. There's a long list here as well. Minutes per game, career high. He's playing 33.3, which is a career high. Taking more shots than ever. 2-point field goal attempts and 2-point field goals made is a career high. Free throw attempts for him, also career high. Offensive rebounds, not total rebounds, but offensive rebounds, career high. I think it's actually, it is a career high. Assists per game is a career high, 2.2. And points per game tied for his career high. This is what he had his sophomore season. That's a decent amount of little stats there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike's had a pretty good year, and knock on wood about this being a minor injury because it's the first one we've seen pop up in a while. Can tell you guys, I did watch him go through his pregame routine last night, and he went through the full routine this time as opposed to the last game. So I think just caution from Denver for now.
Hold him out. Get him healthy fully.
What you hope for Porter, man, is just that he gets this done against the best teams and that it's another strong playoff run because – I think he's there as a guy who's going to contribute even more than we thought he could against bad teams. But everyone knows the next boxes to check are consistency and then doing it against the best defenses.
Yeah. We move on now to Aaron Gordon, obviously having a down year, but there are two areas that's really interesting. We all know three-point field goal percentage, 41.4%, but his free throw percentage is also up, and that's 79%. That's like 10% up from his career average. So he's having a red-hot year, almost 80% from the foul line in addition. Those two numbers together make me think there's probably something more to this.
Yeah, I mean, this is really encouraging. He said he worked on his shot the entire offseason. Usually, guys kind of just lie about that. I mean, everybody works on their shot, but it seems like he really did and was in the gym, in his house, in a gym. So this has also given me a lot of optimism about him in the playoffs, too. Because imagine if Aaron Gordon is a 40% three-point shooter in the playoffs. That's huge.
Yeah, it actually could be the difference in him winning or not winning.
It could be a massive difference. And the fact that he's that type of free throw shooter as well, the confidence he has at the free throw line is massive as well.
I completely agree. The free throw line I'm buying, knock on all the wood, as, I don't know if it's 80%, but a guy who's leveled up in terms of reliability at the line. I think every shot looks more comfortable coming out of his hands. This is a guy who, in my opinion, every time he's taken a three, the form's slightly different.
Yeah.
And this year, it's just looked a little smoother. Consider this, though, good shooting numbers despite a soft tissue injury to his right leg, right calf. And I'm sure that would affect lift and to some
You would
degree.
think, yeah.
But so I do think AG's been in a good shooting rhythm, and I'd like to think we can credit that to his offseason work. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Christian Braun obviously is up in everything. I mean, his minutes have doubled, so everything is up.
Literally everything.
But I wanted to highlight, too, that I thought was interesting. His free throw percentage, which is also up, 83.3%. And his effective field goal percentage is up over 10% from last year. And by the way, his three-point percentage is down. But yet his effective field goal percentage is up 10%. It shows you how good he has become from two, and in particular, how good he's become from the at the rim.
What do you think the percentage of shots that he takes is from like restricted area this year versus last year?
I can tell you. I think I can look
I
that
would
up.
love to know because it feels like, he doesn't take any bad shots.
Yeah.
And it's not like he took a ton of bad shots last year.
I don't know. That turnaround fall away.
That might have been the
That was the
category
ultimate. He
of questionable
it, but
/ bad
good to
shots.
me.
Look good to me, too.
But he just so rarely takes a shot that you're like, what was that?
So last year, 0 to 3 feet, he took 34% of his shots there. This year, 44%.
That feels about right.
10% increase. Christian has talked about this, and he said, I play with Jokic. I run hard. Actually, just as a little treat for me, Mike worked his way into one of those quotes this week.
Yeah?
He said, I play with Jokic and Mike. And
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
just run the floor hard, good things happen.
That was about fast breaking,
it was
I
about
think.
fast break,
and he was
yeah.
like, it's easy with Jokic and Mike.
But that's part of it, and I think it's
How
true.
did Mike get himself
Great
into
because
that?
Mike spaces the floor in transition and he's light on his feet. I actually think there's something to it. I looked it up statistically. I can't remember, but
also it's
when
because he
said
averaged
that-
36 points in 3 games, so that was cool.
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
true.
no, it
was in the middle of that.
Christian has kind of figured out, like when you watch him, got a great view of it live from our seat at Ball Arena. He's just kind of moving. He's just kind of like, the open space is over here. You'll go find it. You'll go find it.
especially on a fast break too with Christian, he just takes off and starts sprinting.
He's so quick.
Watch him when the other team misses the shot. He's already at half court.
It's true, man.
You know, it's not on him to box out. They got other guys to do that. He's sprinting the floor. As soon as a Nugget gets that rebound, they look for Christian Braun because he's pretty much at the other end of the court.
So Julian and Peyton obviously weren't playing last year, and they're playing this year, so they're going to be up. So we're not going to do them, but I do want to do Russell Westbrook here because he's the last guy, and there's two. He was a Hall of Famer. He's had these peak years, but two areas that are career highs you would have never guessed. Career high blocks per game.
No kidding. 0.5, huh?
Yeah, 0.5 career high blocks per game, and then 2-point field goal percentages up to 55%.
That's huge.
He is shooting better than ever from two. He's more efficient as a scorer inside the 3-point line than his MVP season or any of his super scoring seasons.
And people all season have been like, man, what's the difference with Russell Westbrook? And a lot of the narrative I see out there is, oh, he hasn't changed anything.
Yeah.
It's just the Nuggets put him in a position to be himself. Russell Westbrook has clearly honed his game a little bit.
Yeah.
He's taking better shots, I think. You know, he's just playing more within himself and to his strengths than he has in past seasons. I love how he's kind of adapted his game a little and also how the Nuggets have used him.
You know, going into the season, we pointed out that Russ still gets into the paint very well. What had changed over time was his ability to finish there.
Yeah.
Playing with Jokic's gravity as a guy he can dump it off to even at the last second has completely changed Russ's confidence going to the rim. And that, look, man, that's a big part of Denver's winning through the math problem is they're so efficient in two and from two. And if Russ wasn't, that would be an uphill battle.
I always say my favorite Nuggets season was the championship year. My second favorite season was that 2017 year because it just felt like every day it was a mystery. Like, what's Yoke going to do today?
Yeah.
And that's how I feel with Christian right now, Pickett right now, to a certain extent, Zeke Nnaji right now. To a certain extent, Michael Porter when he's playing right now. Just there feels like a leveling up with the Nuggets that's really exciting. Even Julian. I mean, I have my thoughts on Julian where he's at in his development, but it's just fun right now. The Nuggets are very fun and interesting right now because you feel like you're watching some guys level up in real time.
Right.
And I just wanted to keep it going, man. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's get to our super chats. What do we got, Kale?
Jeremy J. Rock Michael, read Vote's article. Jamal believes. So should we.
There you go.
Thanks, Jeremy. Dean Georgis.
Thanks for being a diehard, man. Keeping the lights on.
A shout out to the diehards. I'm going to try to keep the content coming for you. Dean Georgis, turnovers seem to destroy this team. So does that increase Pickett's value? And does it make you reevaluate Russ? I'm going to say no to the latter, yes to the former.
I definitely think not turning the ball over when Jokic is on the court is especially important because Jokic just maximizes so much.
You're going to get a great shot whenever Yoke's on the floor, or you should get a great shot.
And Jokic has turnovers. Like he had 5 yesterday.
Yep.
I mean, it happens, but
the thing about
else.
Russ and Jokic is they're elite playmakers with the ball in their hands a ton.
Yeah.
So you can live with those turnovers. Guys like Pickett can't turn it over.
The one thing I'll say about Pickett that's different than Russ, look, Russ is way more dynamic. He's explosive, all those things. Pickett, I think, is better about playing off ball. Like he understands a lot of his screening angles when he's off ball and stuff that, is and then obviously can shoot. I think pretty well.
Looking like it. Fent Jones flying from Idaho. With wifey to see the Nuggets smack the Hornets on the 20th. Might come check the bar. What do you mean, might?
Yeah,
You flying in from Idaho? Come
it.
through, brother.
Yeah, come in, hit us up.
Come
We'll give
on.
you the tour.
Yeah, we'll give you the whole shebang. Senior Lobo 92. Is it crazy of me if I prefer Pickett to Westbrook?
I personally think they both can play together, and I would be very curious to see it happen. I don't know what it would look like, but this is what an 82-game season is for. Figure it out. Maybe.
Fent Jones. JB was dribbling around guys like Coffee Black did in semi-pro. That's a great reference.
All the way around. All the way back, and he's wide open.
That movie just really held up, man. It's great. It's really good. 5-5-5-5-5-ish. Did I forget a 5?
Yeah, maybe.
Probably. I can never get that right. A fun thought experiment for later, but how many starting shooting guards are definitely better than CB? That is a fun one. Is CB a top 10 shooting guard in the league?
It's a good segment.
How many
idea.
shooting? Yeah, we might have to
Maybe
rank
an off-
these. We might
yeah.
have to
I
do
mean,
it.
shooting guard
Off-station.
probably the weakest position too.
Yeah, could be.
Trevor Okeson. What if CB was Yoke's first all-star teammate all along?
Why not Jalen Pickett? Why not Zeke Nnaji? You never know who could be the first all-star.
Why not
Hey man,
Give me a chance.
The Mavs got 2 All-Stars. Well, I guess they have 1 now.
Oh, my God.
Kyrie Irving was named All-Star replacement.
And Anthony Davis was in or no? Oh, you're saying Luke.
He's
No, Luka wasn't in.
Luke is
No,
out.
no,
Anthony Davis is in, I think.
Oh, he is in. Okay.
But he's out now for Kyrie.
But now he's out.
All right. Well, there you go. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. I like the off-day show. It's been a minute, I feel, since we've done off-day shows. We've had so many games. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget, join me on Playback, playback.tv/AllNBA show. Hit that like button on the way out. We'll see you.